Inga kuda eda irukku. You can come here. Somebody wants to come here, you can come. Please come. Vaango. Please come. Inga vaango. Please come. Enna irukku. Nariya eda irukku. रामानुज दयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना। भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणु परकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। निगमकल्पतरोः गलितं फलं शुकमुखातमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवत रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्मा द्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनशम्भुः भगवान् बादरायणः। पाराशर्यवचःसुधां सुमनसः दुग्धाब्धिमध्योद्धृतां संसाराग्निविदीपनव्यपगतप्राणात्मसञ्जीवनीं पूर्वाचार्यसुरक्षितां बहुमतिं व्याघातदूरस्थिताम् आनीतां तु निजाक्षरैः सुमनसः भौमाः पिबन्त्वन्वहम्। सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमिदं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे। हन्तभाग्यं जनानाम् अग्रे पश्यामि तेजो निबिडतरकला यावळी लोभनीयं पीयूषाप्लावितोऽहं तदनु तदुतरे दिव्यकैशोरवेशं तारुण्यारम्भरम्यं परमसुख रसास्वादरोमाञ्चिताङ्गैः आवीतं नारदाद्यैः विलसदुपनिषत्सुन्दरीमण्डलैश्च बाहुद्वन्द्वेन रत्नोज्ज्वलवलयभृता शोणपाणिप्रवाळेनोपाता वेणुनाळीं प्रसृतनखमयूकाङ्गुलीं सङ्गशारां कृत्वा वक्त्रारविन्दे सुमधुरविकसदरागमुद्भाव्य मानैः शब्दब्रह्मामृतैः त्वं शिशिरितभुवनैः सिञ्च सिञ्च मे कर्णवीथीं योगीन्द्राणां त्वदङ्गेष्वधिकसु मधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवासो भक्तानां कामवर्षद्युतरुकिसलयं नाथ ते पादमूलं नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते कृष्ण कारुण्य सिंधो कृष्ण कारुण्य सिंधो कृत्वा निशेषत संदोहलक्ष्मी अज्ञात्वा ते महत्वं यदिह निगदितं विश्वनाथ क्षमेथः स्तोत्रं चैतत्सहस्रोत्तरमधिकतरं त्वत्प्रसादाय भूयात् द्वेधा नारायणीयं श्रुतिषु च जनुषस्तुत्यता वर्णनेन स्फीतं लीलावतारैरिदमित कुरुताम् आयुरारोग्य सौख्यं जानकीकान्तस्मरणं गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं नमः सदसे नमः सभायै. With the abundant grace and benevolence of Paramatma Shriyapati, we have gathered in this very revered, very well-known premises of Sri Lakshmi Temple, and this is for a purpose to delineate in the limited time as much as possible the quintessence of Srimad Bhagavatham Mahapuranam. Bhagavatam is generally told for a series of 7 days. In Kerala, where I've performed many times, it is called a satram. It is a yagam. And it is a bit complicated because I have to speak 4 times in a day there. So morning it will be like 8:30 to 10, then 12 to 1:30. So it is only then I can get into the details of Bhagavatam, because I have to explain the essence of 18,000 shlokas in 7 into 4 to 14 hours. So we may miss out on the details. So they give me 4 slots in a day, like this 7 days, 7 into 4, 28 slots. So it will run to about 80-90 hours of content. There have been Mahans like Anantarama Dikshitar, who have spoken for a mandalam, 48 days. That's a mandalam. There are Mahans like Brahmashri Sundar Kumar Anna, who has spoken for a year. But with the grace of Mahalakshmi, I have been asked to speak only for 7 days, 2 hours a day. So those of you who have been accustomed to listening to Bhagavatam may feel that there should be more that should be said. For those of you who are new to Bhagavatam, this is a very good appetizer. So you will have an opportunity to learn the essence of Bhagavatam under various acharyas, no doubt. Telugu bhashalo Chaganti Kotishwar Rao garu, Samavedam Shanmukha Sharma garu, Garikapati, ఆ కాలంలో ఉన్న శ్రీభాష్యం అప్పళాచార్యులు, ఎంతో మహాన్ ఉన్నాయి కదా. So you can listen to them as well, because they'll be speaking in Telugu, and Telugu is such a sweet language. I keep telling in every lecture, because we in Karnataka Sangeetam we are used to singing Telugu kritis without knowing the meaning. So Telugu is such a beautiful language. Well, so Bhagavatam is quite deep, and there are many topics. Unlike Ramayanam, see, Ramayanam is very linear. Circumstances that led to the birth of Rama. Rama was born. Rama was taken on an internship for 6 days. He killed Tataka. He killed Subahu. He drove away Maricha. He gave Ahalya Shapa Vimochanam, marriage with Sita. Lived for 12 years happily in Ayodhya. At the age of 25, he was sent to the forest. 14 years, Paduka Pattabhishekam. There is Viradhavadam, Kabandhavadam, Karadushanadivadam, Shurpanaka Garbhabhangam, Sita Paharanam, Hanumat Samagamam, Sugriva Sakyam, Sugriva Pattabhishekam, Vali Vadam, Then there is a search for Sita. Hanuman goes in the southern direction. He goes to Alanka. He gives her the ring. He accepts the Chudamani, comes back. There is Alinganam, and then there is Vibhishana Sharanagati, Setu Bandham, and then Rama Ravana Yuddham, and then there is Pattabhishekam, and there is Uttarakanda. It is all very linear. It is all about Rama, what Rama did, whom did he marry, what happened to her, and so on. But Bhagavatam is not like that. Yesterday I spoke about Kapilopadesham, I spoke about Varahavasaram. Today the topics will be entirely different. So, today we will be explaining a small portion from Dakshayajnam, because this is one portion where the greatness of Panchaksharam and Shiva is explained in a Vaishnava Puranam. Bhaveshilavatam sreshte daksho duhitravatsalaha vidvesham akarots asmad nadrityatmajam satim kastam charachara gurum nirvaram shantavigraham atmaram katham dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. You know, it was such a happenstance, you can call it. As I had the darshanam of Tayar and Perumal, Srimad Bhagavatham was being recited today. Namaste astu bhagavan vishveshwaraya mahadevaya trayambakaya tripurantakaya trikagnikaraya kaladrudraya neelakantaya mrityunjayaya sadashivaya shrimanmahadevaya namaha yata ishu shivatama shivam babhuva te dhanhu shiva sharavyaya tavataya rudramridaya. This is how Sri Rudram begins. It is called Shatarudriyam. 11 Navavakams followed by a bhagam called Chamakam, because Rudram is called Namakam, because you have Namakakubhaya Nishangine Stena Pataye Namaha Namastayo Nam. So it begins with the word Namaha, and there is Dvinamaha. So Rudram is special because it begins with Namaha and ends with Namaha. So it's called Namakam. And Goduna Chane Idam Chane. So that is called Chamakam. Namakam Chamakam. So the beginning itself today is with Shiva, Mahadeva. So, yesterday I told you at about 8:15, you remember that Srimad Bhagavatham Sapthaham, 2 sons, 3 daughters, Devahutis, 1 daughter married to Kadava Prajapati, they had many daughters, finally a son called Kapila, then becomes Kadava. There was a daughter called Prasuti. Prasuti was married to Daksha Prajapati. Prajapati in generic terms means the one who had many children. So, this Daksha Prajapati had many daughters. One set of daughters were the stars. For all fathers, their daughters are stars. For him, the stars were his daughters. All the nakshatras were his daughters. So, all these nakshatras were his children. They were married to Chandra, Soma. You can take it in literal terms, or you can also take it in a very, very cosmic term, because you see the moon, the stars, asterisms. And these asterisms are very, very important for our Jyotishya Shastra. See, if someone is born, we have to tell the tithi, we have to tell the nakshatra, we have to tell the rashi, because in one rashi you can have more than one nakshatra. So you have to tell the padam. Don't think I'm complicating your Jyotishya knowledge. That is how we understand from Ramavataram. Tatascha Dvadashe Vase Chaitre Navaniketitam Nakshatre Aditi Daivatye Swachha Samstheshu Panchasu Graheshu Karkate Yagna Vapata Vindunasaha says Valmiki. Very clear. Our acharyas were so good in astronomical details. He was born in Chaitra, which is the Chitra Masam, Shukla Paksham, Navami Tithi. He is born in a nakshatram that is aspected by Aditi. Nakshatre Aditi Devatya. Aditi Devatya Nakshatram is Punarvasu. Punarvasu is Aditi. The asterism ruled by Aditi. Vasu means wealth. Punar means again. So people born in Punarvasu Nakshatram, if they lose something, they will get it back. If you plan to lose your cell phone, give it to them. They will get it back. Punarvasu. So, Graheshu Karkata Ragna Vapata Vindunasaha. In Rama's Jatakam, I'm sure the elderly people here can relate to. You know, traditional houses in the Puja Samnidhi, they will have Rama's horoscope.
So in Rama's horoscope, 5 grahas were at the exalted state. Panchauche Lokanayakaha. If 5 grahas are at the exalted state, you will become a world leader, says Jyotishya Shastram. Rama had 5 grahas at the exalted state. See, I can't get over Ramayanam because Ramayanam, this is Bhagavatam, but I've gone into Ramayanam. Sorry for the detour. I can't take my eyes off Rama and Ramayanam. He says, Vakpata Vinduna Saha. In Rama's Jatakam, in one house there was Vakpati and Indu, Chandra and Brihaspati. If they are in the same house, you have to look for the second and the 10th position. It is called Kemadruma Yogam. In such cases, there are chances that the husband and wife will separate. So, Rama escaped Kemadruma Yogam by a thin marker. That is why, though they were not separated perennially, every now and then you will see a separation in Rama's life. So, Vakpata Vinduna Saha, Jyotishya Shastram is true. But it should not be interpreted every day, every morning. Kumbha Rashi, Rishabha Rashi, wear this color, wear that number. That's all a waste. See, Jyotishya Shastram can give a long-term prediction. It cannot give day-wise prediction. You go today, your corporate meeting will be good. Wear this color. Whether we will win IPL match. We should not bring down our Jyotishya Shastram to that level. Anyways, so the stars, nakshatrams were married to Soma. He had another daughter. Since all of them were daughters of Daksha, they were generically referred to as Dakshayani. But this particular girl, her original name was Sati. She was also called Dakshayani. She was in love with Mahadeva. She married him. At that point in time, the father did not like. See, all these stories are of Bhagavatam. The girl likes the boy, the girl's parents don't like the boy. Now, Daksha, at one point in time when they entered a Sabha Mantapam, Shiva was called, Mahadeva was called by various insulting names. There are names, Yashagraha, Murataprataha, Markatalochanaha, Shuchayo, Manu, Pretavaseshu, Goreshu, all these names. Hearing all of this, naturally the devotees of Shiva got very perturbed. They said, this is not the way you ill-treat Mahadeva Daksha, because Mahadeva did not stand up when Daksha entered. That is when Daksha cursed. Ayam tu devayajanam indropandradirbhavaha sahabhagam nanabhatam devayir devaganadhamaha. When a yajna is performed, Havis cannot be given to Rudra, is what the Shapam was. That is why in generally yagams you have to conclude that yagam with Narayana Mantram. Then there will be an internal distribution. You have the supply chain, right? So that Havis will come and then he will distribute. Because Shiva lives in a Pretavaseshu, in a Smashana Bhumi, in Yagyam, I am telling because you will all observe when you do your Yagyam, if at all you do one. In Havan, when you say Rudra, immediately the priest will say touch water. Because when you tell that name, you are going to the Smashana Bhumi and coming. So you have to touch water. So these are all little things in Yagam, Karma Bhagam, that is important. Ayam tu devayajanam indropendradi bharbhavaha samadhagam nalabhatam devair devaganadhamaha. Nandi cursed now. Now Daksha cursed, curse one. Now Nandi will curse back. There are 2 curses. Then Bhrigu curses. So, what is this? This is one big competition for curse. Finally, they all reconciled and went back to their abodes. In Haridwara Kshetram, Daksha again performed a yagam. Vajapeyena Shtra Brihaspati Savena Yajeta. He performed a yagam called Brihaspati Savam after doing Vajapeyam. Vajapeyam is the name of a yagam. So traditionally, families that performed Vajapeyam regularly were given the suffix Vajapeyi. That is why we have Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Right? Once, no, he did not perform. Long back they performed. So Vajapeyi, you have to perform that Vajapeyi yagam. So, for this yagam, Daksha see, some people perform yagam for a purpose. Daksha's purpose was to insult Shiva. That was the sole objective. He performed the yagam and he sent one invite, RSVP. Vanda sandosham, varlena sandosham, romba sandosham. He sent one invite. It reached everyone. It didn't reach Shiva or not Sati. But Sati had one WhatsApp group. Immediately the Devis there asked, Sati, आज तुम नहीं आ रही हो क्या? हरिद्वार नहीं आ रही हो? Then Sati asked, क्या बात है? वो पप्पा कुछ याग कर रहे हैं, हवन कर रहे हैं, तुम्हें नहीं बुलाया क्या? एक बार चेक कर लो मैसेज. नहीं. Then she left. That is when she left, she went and argued with her father that you are doing something against Mahadeva, who's also your son-in-law. You are so fortunate to have Shiva as your son-in-law, you do not realize your true potential. Daksha. That is when the father again abused Shiva. Sati sat in yoga and from her intense dhyanam, samadhi, state in Ashtanga yoga, a Jatharagni, the fire was generated from within her body. See, this is where we need to understand. She did not go and fall into blazing fire. A fire was generated from the within. Later when the invasions happened, people invoked this practice and then they went and fell into fire and called that Sati. Sati, she got fire from within. And that is when the Ganas go and inform Shiva. And Shiva gets angry. He sends one Gana, very strong person called Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra comes and takes the head of Daksha. What is this? It looks like a crime scene. Now, the Yaga Pashu's head was attached. And then the Yagam was completed. Now, you may wonder, sir, in Bhagavatam, why should this Charitram come? Correct. For this, Narayana Bhattatri, Narayaniyam gives the answer. He says, Kruddhe Shamardita Makhasya tu Kritta Shirshaha Devah Prasaditaha Radatha Labda Jivaha Tvatpurita Kratuvara Punarapashantim Sattvam Prashanti Karapahi Marutpuresha. Hey Krishna, your greatness is known here. Krishna asked how. In one is cursing, the other one is hitting. When the yagam was begun, all this problem started. After the cutting of Daksha's head and attaching of the goat's head, nobody bothered to complete the yagam. See, in Karma Kandam it is important. When you begin a yagam, you have to complete it. If you don't complete, there is a huge apacharam that is attached to the yagam. That is why traditionally they used to look at Jyotishya Shastra. I'll tell you why Jyotisham was looked at. Jatakam, horoscope, kundli. Why? Primarily to check if this is a good match for the boy or a good match for the girl. If at all it is an arranged marriage at some point in time. If it is not arranged marriage, that purpose is also lost. So you have to look for the Jatakam. Second, in case you are performing a yagam, you are performing a havan. The one who initiates the havan, the yajaka, he has to stay alive till the yagam is completed. And the yagam never used to happen for a day. It used to happen for 18 days, 6 months, 1 year. For example, Dasharatha performed the yagam called Ashwamedham Sambatsareti for 1 year. Then Putrakameshti. So yagams are generally for a long period of time. And till then the yajaka should live. If he doesn't live, then it will be stopped in the middle. There will be apacharam, papam that is attached to it. So before commencing the yagam, they will check on the jatakam if the person will live or not. So for marriage and for yagam, these were the only two purposes Jyotisham was looked at. But for anything but this we are looking today. Marriage we don't have to look because we find better matches without the jatakam. Second thing is we don't have to do yagam at all. We do 1 hour for the housewarming ceremony. In that 1 hour, we will ask the priest 10,000 times, we are always into eating, right? So, that 1 hour, that Sudarshana Homam, and that priest is even more smarter than us because he has agreed to do yagam in 2 other places. So, he will finish it in 45 minutes and go. So, our yagam circuit itself has reduced. So it is said, Kruddhe Shamardita Makhasyatu Kritta Shirshaha Deva Prasadira Haradata Labda Jiva Twatpurita Kratuvaraha. Bhattadri says, Krishna, you came and completed the yagam when the others were busy cursing each other, hitting each other, beheading each other. It is you who completed that yagam, thereby telling that when you take up a task, ensure you complete it. When you have started attending from day 1, attend till day 7. This is a yagam, right? That is what is the message from, because generally people say, we want a takeaway. The takeaway is this. You have to come all 7 days. Dhruva Charitram. Again, we have to head back to the 2 sons of Swayambhuva Uttanapada and Priyavrata. Uttanapada had a wife, 2 wives. The first one was called Suniti. The second one was called Suruchi. Through Suniti, he had a son called Dhruva. Through Suruchi, he had a son called as Uttama. The boy was nowhere close to the meaning of his name. He was Anuttama, but he was called Uttama. In Bharatadesham, we will have many publications that have Hindu in them, in their name, but they may not act against. Uttanapada nripater manunandanasya jaya babhuva suruchir nitaram abhishta Anya Sunitiriti Bhartur Anadrita Sa Tvameva Nityamagati Sharanam Gata Bhoot. Uttanapada, one day, he called his son born through Suruchi, called Uttama, and said, Uttama, beta idhar aa jao and baitho. That boy went and sat on the lap. Normal scenario in any house. That is when he was cuddling the boy, embracing him, appreciating him, patting him on his back. The first son called Dhruva, who was standing behind the pillar, noticed this love that his brother was receiving, and he thought, why should I not receive as well? He came running to his father and sat on the other lap. Bas. Somebody held Dhruva by his neck. Navatsan ripade dhishnyam bhavanarahu narahumarhati nagrihito mayayatvam kukshavapi nripatmajaha tapasaradhya purusham tasyaivanugrahena me garbhetvam sadhyamatmanam yadichhasi nripasanam. Somebody held this boy by his neck. The boy turned. The little boy with the little head with the little neck turned. It was his stepmother Suruchi. She said, probably you are inspired with the love that your brother Uttama is getting from your father. It is natural for anybody of your age to also aspire to get the same love. But were you born of me? Were you born in my kukshi to receive the same love? You are born of that Suniti. What audacity you have to come and sit on your father's lap? When she said this, Tyagaraja says, how is it? You have a Trishulam. Trishulam is the trident. Cast iron. You throw that into a blazing fire, probably a smelting furnace. You leave it for half an hour, it burns. It is red hot. You take the trident which has been in the fire for half an hour, take that and insert it into somebody's ear. Same were the words of Suruchi when she told Dhruva, it seems. Sa Patni mata yau Suruchi che karna shulamena matanu vinanu surukala talaka Shri Harini dhyaninchi sukhim pakalera yaitu kana ruchira kana kavasana ninnusa Patni ma, Sa Patni means co-wife, which is Suruchi. What is her name? Sa Patni Matayau Suruchi che Karnashulamai Namatanu. Matanu ante Shabdalu. అది ఎలాగున్నది? కర్ణశూలమైన మాటలు. అది విశేషణం కదా. ఒక శబ్దం ఉన్నది అంటే అది ప్రయోగం చేసిన విశేషణం. ఇట్ ఈస్ అ అడ్జెక్టివ్ దట్ క్వాలిఫైస్. కర్ణశూలమైన మాటను సురుక్కల. సి ఆల్ లాంగ్వేజెస్ ఆర్ రిలేటెడ్. ఇన్ తమిళ్ వి సే సురుక్కును పేసిన. సురుక్కల తాళక. ద బాయ్ కుడెంట్ టేక్ దోస్ వర్డ్స్. సురుక్కల. వెన్ యూ సింగ్ యూ షుడ్ గెట్ దట్ ఇమోషన్. సురుక్కల తాళక. హీ కుడెంట్ టేక్ ఇట్. శ్రీహరిని ధ్యానించి. He meditated on Sri Hari. Then Sukhim Pakaleda. See, when you sing, you should get that emotion. It is not about technicality. Sapatni Matayau Suruchiche Karnashulamaina Matanu Veenanu Surukalatalaka Sri Harini Dhaninchi Sukhim Pakaleda Vidiyanu Kanakanano Surukalatalaka Sri Harini Dhyaninchi Sukhimpagaleda. Balamurali Krishna used to state, to sing Tyagaraja, you should know Tyagaraja Hridayam. You should know the heart of Tyagaraja. You may get an award, but award doesn't matter when you have Tyagaraja Bhakti. So, Dushantyaja khalu bhavat vimukhair asuya says, Bhattatari's class apart. He's onnaam class aanu. Bhattatari. You know why? There is a question. Why should a mother, she is also a mother, right? Why should she hurt a child? He is barely 4 years. Will you tell a 4-year child, you are not born of my womb, you should be born of my... Why will you talk all this to a 4-year child? He says, Dussantyaja khalu bhavat vimukhair asuya. When a person has jealousy, they will keep on accusing some person or something. Something they'll be talking about. They will always have negative energy around them. This is wrong, that is wrong. They will always come up with negative sentences. When jealousy is there, when there is no Bhagavad Bhakti, what is the way out? Bhattatari says, devote yourself to Krishna. Then you will see everything positive. When your mind is away from Krishna, when it is away from Bhagavad Bhakti, there will be jealousy. And jealousy will manifest in negativity. You will always say, enna saapadu kudutha uppu irundirukkalam. Okay. Could have been better. Innu konjam murumurunu maathirukkalamo. Ivanu nanna mokshathukku padichirukkalam. Padikala. See, certain people will always find fault with food. That is all because when you are very weak internally, when your willpower is very weak, it will always manifest in the form of criticism and negativity. Otherwise, why will you want to be negative? Everything is beautiful. Dussantyaja khalu bhavat vimukhair asuya. This Dhruva went and told his mother Suniti, Mata, right in the presence of my father Uttanapada, that lady has said such words. My father didn't even condemn Mata. Am I not the son to my father? Don't I have the right to receive the same quantum of love that my other brother receives? What grave mistake have I committed, Mata, that I should be at the receiving end of such obnoxious words? Anya janma kritai punyai suruchyam suruchirnupaha bharyeti prochate chanya madvidha punya vajjita. Vishnu Purana Vakyam. She says, Putra, they say one's own Purva Janma Karma affects that person, but at times parents' Purva Janma Karma could also affect my child. I don't know what have I done in my past that you, my dear son, you have to undergo so much of abuse in your life. But my son, I have no other way. I can't fight your father and your stepmother. They are too powerful. That is when this little boy, 4 years of age, Bhagavatam says 4 or 5. It says between 4 and 5. Little boy. This boy vows. He says, Mata, I wanted my father's love. I need to get the love of a father who's eternal from now. I will go on that mission. I will not stop till I get that love. Mother said, what can I do? I don't have any way, Putra. When he exited the Bhavanam, Bhagavatam says that Narada Maharshi was there. On the other hand, Vishnu Puranam says the Sapta Rishis were there. Anaradhita Govindair Naraihi Sthanam Nripatmaja Nahi Samprapyate Shreshtham Tasmad Aradhyamachyutam Yasyantaha Sarvamevam Sarvam Eva Vedam Achyutasthavya Avyayatmanaha Tamaradhaya Govindam Sthanam Agram Yadichasi Param Brahma Param Dhama Yosau Brahma Tatha Param Tamaradhya Harimyati Muktipyati Sadurlabham. So the Saptarishis had only one solution. They gave different names. They said, propitiate Govinda, propitiate Achyuta, propitiate Narayana, propitiate Vasudeva. Narada, on the other hand, in Srimad Bhagavatam says, Dharmarthakama mokshakhyam ya ichhetshreya atmanaha ekamana harestatra karanam padasevanam. Harim. Think of Hari. Harir harati papani. Swami, what do I do? That is when Dvadashakshari was explained. Pranavam, Namaha, Bhagavataha and Vasudeva Shabdam. Generally, you don't tell the mantra openly in a mic. So there are ways to tell this. You should never say Pranavam, Namaha, Narayanaya openly. Mantram, Mantra Rakshana Gudhatma, Karya Siddhim Prakashayet is a Subhashita Vachanam. When a mantra is taught, Mantram Yatnena Gopayet, it should be hidden. See, that is why it is called mantra. Mantra itself means that which is to be protected. So you should always hide it. Pranavam, you should never tell it in the public. Namaha Shabdam, you should never say. That is why I didn't say Namo, I said Namaha Shabdam. That is why Alvar said Nadum Nagaramum Nangariya Namo Narayanaya Vendri. He never used the word Pranavam there. So Dvadashakshari was taught. And this boy went to the forest, and what all he did? For 3 nights, now he has come to our diet. This quinoa, brown rice, tofu. So he had kapitha and badara juice at the end of 3 nights for 1 month. Then he consumed dry leaves. See, generally when we do archana to Bhagavan, we have to do it with fresh flowers. Right? But there is an exception. Our rishis were all very, very liberal. Very good rishis they are. They gave one exception. They said, Tulasi alone, you can pluck, dry it, keep it for as many months or years and then give it. It is like our food. Some of the houses you go, the food will be 2 years old. Pona varsham vandabodu pannadu swami appdimba. Tulasi andha mari dhan vechunga. So, Tulasi you can do. So, Tulasi has no such rule that it should be fresh. If you are getting it fresh, it's okay, but I'm sure Boston is a cold place. You will get snow, ice. Where will you get Tulasi then? Then you can always freeze it. Dry it, freeze it, store it. And leaves are a source of nutrition. And in those days, if you do tapasya, you should not have solid food. So, to sustain and keep the jivatma within the body, they will consume dry leaves. Leaf is called patram or parnam. Parna patra. In Kumara Sambhavam, I don't know how many of you have read Kumara Sambhavam. It is a beautiful kavyam by Kalidasa. See, when you have time, make time. Don't say I don't have time. Make time. Reduce your sleep hours. Make time. Read the 3 kavyams of Kalidasa. Meghadutam, Kumara Sambhavam, Raghuvamsham. What a poet he was. What a poet. His similes are unmatched. In my opinion. Best. 3 natakams. Vikramurvashiyam, Malavikaagnimitram, Abhijnana Shakuntalam. Wow. Kavyeshu natakam brahmyam, tasya ramya Shakuntala. When the dialogues come in Shakuntalam, you'll fall in love with Kalidasa, how he speaks. In Kumara Sambhavam, it begins. Can anyone say how Kumara Sambhavam begins? First shloka. Any try? Very good. Astyuttarasyam dishidevatatma himalayo nama nagadhi rajaha. Beautiful. Astyuttarasyam dishi devatatma hima. Hima means snow. Himalaya means that which is covered by hima, snow. Himalayo nama nagadhi rajaha. And in Kumara Sambhavam, there is a description of how Parvati, Himavan's daughter, fell in love with Shiva. Himavan's wife, Mena, her other name was Manorama. Manorama or Mena, she told Parvati, Paru, तुम शिव तो इतने simple है. You know, you want some raiment suit, kind. You know, Shiva was always into taking Abhishekam. Abhisheka Priyo Shiva. Alankara Priyo Vishnu. Shiva was always into waters. There will always be water on his head. He won't give much importance to dressing. On the other hand, Vishnu extremely well dressed. Bath, we don't know. எப்போ குளிப்பார் ஏதோ வாரத்தில் ஒரு நாள் குளிச்சுட்டு வந்துடுவேன் அவர் சென்ட் எல்லாம் ஜம்மன் போட்டு ஜம்மன் இருப்பார் குளிச்சா மாதிரியே இருக்கும். So that is Narayana. Alankara Priyo Vishnu. Manorama said Parvati, you are in love with Shiva. It's very simple. He's wearing one antelope skin, one tiger skin. He's putting one snake in the neck. There is already water coming from his head. Will you be able to adjust, Parvati? Parvati said, no, I love him. And she went on to do tapasya to marry Shiva. This is Kumara Sambhavam. Because then Kumara should be born, Kartikeya. When she goes to the forest, she leaves the Sabha Mantapam and says that I have vowed to do tapasya in the forest. The mother stops. She says, Mat jao. Uma. Ma means don't. Uma, don't go. So that is her name, Uma. Umam Haimavatim. So Uma means don't go. Himavan's daughter, Haimavati. Then, when she goes to the forest, she starts doing tapasya. But Shastram says you cannot commit suicide. In Sanatana Dharma, suicide is prohibited. You can't do prayopavesham, fasting unto that. Nangal poraduvom, unnaviradam irupom. Vella poi jathukudi juice ellam jattu irakudadu. So you cannot do that. So Parvati had to sustain. So when you have to sustain the Jivatma in the body, there is a rule that you have to consume dry leaves. Since she didn't, she said that I had the resolve to retain my Jivatma in the body without consuming the dry leaves. Parnam, she is called Aparna. She didn't have the Parnam, right? So she is called Aparna. But this boy consumed dry leaves at the end of 6 days in the 2nd month. Then he drank water. Abhakshaha, Vayubhakshaha is the Vakyam. First you have to consume water. At the end of 9th day in the 3rd month. Then he consumed only breath, which means he only breathed. He had nothing else. 12th day, 4th month. Then he stood on 1 foot motionless. He said, 4-year-old boy. That is when Narayana thought of blessing this boy. And he appeared in front of the boy. See, first of all, the boy has not seen any profile photo of Narayana. He doesn't know how Narayana will look. He sat on Garuda and came. That is when the shlokam is Srivatsankam Ghanashyamam Purusham Vanamalinam Shankha Chakra Gada Padmair Abhivyakta Chaturbhujam Kiritanam Kundalinam Keyura Valayanvitam Kaustubha Bharanagrivam Pita Kausheya Vasasam. Extremely handsome to look at was Narayana, Srivatsankam. Dark complexion Narayana with a mole on his chest called Srivatsam. Seated on that is a Peetham on which is Mahalakshmi. Next to that is Kaustubam. Next to that is Muppuri Nool. Next to that is below that is the thin hip. In that is the navel from which Nali Ikenas Purita Rajasa Vedaso Nirmimana. Since that gave rise to the lotus, the pollen of the lotus has fallen around. Ramyavartad Dyuti Sahacharim Ranganathasya Nabhihi. His ears are so beautiful with Makara Kundalam. His Unmila Dantapankti Spuratarunatarachaye Bimbadarantaha says Bhattatri. It looked as if the stars were taken from the galaxy, the constellations, and they were fitted as his teeth. Unmila dantapankti spuratarunataraccaya bimbadarantaha. It looked as if two parts of the emerald mountain were fixed as his cheeks and with some butter applied over it, says Bhattadri. And his eyes looked as if the petals of newly blossomed lotus were plucked, taken and fit. It looked so wide. It was such a beautiful crescent moon-like forehead, conch like neck, kambugrivam. Vakshasthalam was wide, narrow hip, beautiful nabhi. This was the drishyam that Dhruva saw in front of him. That is when Bhagavan appeared, and the boy was so much in emotions because he has been ridiculed, humiliated by his stepmother, and that has been quietly sanctioned by his father. So the boy was extremely insulted, felt very insulted, humiliated, and he was choked in his emotions. He couldn't speak, he couldn't utter a word. That is when Bhagavan, who is holding the conch in his palm, he kept that conch on his hip and took that palm and kept it on his cheek. Kapola deshe. When he kept, the boy started shedding tears, and that emotion, shokaha, became shlokam. Shokaha, shlokatvam agataha. It became a shlokam. It became dhruvastuti. And the boy started praising Sahasra Shirishah Purushaha, Sahasrakshas Sahasrapad, Sarvavyapi Bhuvasparshat Atyatishthad Dashangulam, Bharvat Sarvatmakosi Sarvesha Sarvabhutasthito Yataha, Kathayami Tatakimte Sarvam Vetsi Hridisthitam. So the boy started speaking, and he venerated Bhagavan so much. And as the Bhagavan was venerated, appreciated, he said, Dhruva, don't worry, I am your father from now on. You are not you Dhruva anymore, you are we Dhruva. Vasudeva Dhruva, not Uttanapada's Dhruva. I am your father. Whatever you want, you do to me. The boy hugged Bhagavan. He embraced Bhagavan. And the boy came, and then the Rajyam continued. The father realized his mistake. Then later he became the king. Uttama was killed. He fought with the Yakshas. Towards the end, he became the Dhruva Mandalam. So Dhruva was given a boon that because of his continuous remembrance of Bhagavan, from then on, remembrance will be called by his name. In Sanskritam, continuous remembrance is called Dhruva Smriti. So remembrance was given. You have this day, right? Suppose if there is a big person, you will declare that day. In the US, you will give that name. Similarly, this boy the remembrance was called after Dhruva because he had so much of devotion to Bhagavan. Ete bata sundarahvayajusha padaravinde shubhe yannirjeta samuttita tripathaga stotrastu kinchit kila dhatte saushirasa dhruvastadaparam stroto bhavani patihi yasyasya alakanandite keti Nijagad Namayvanam Arthakam, says Bhattatri. So this is the other greatness of Dhruva that talks about how when people ridicule you, you will always have a solution through Bhagavan, do not worry. Next, we are going to go through another Charitram. See, in Swayambhuva Manu's family, Kardama Prajapati, Devahuti, Prasuti, Daksha. Then we have seen Uttanapada. Priyavrata is there, right? In Priyavrata's family was a continuation called Nabhi, Agnidhra and so on. Then came the son of an Amshavatara of Bhagavan called Rishabhanatha. Rishabhanatha is an Amshavataram of Bhagavan. I think I remember telling you Purnavataram and Amshavataram yesterday. So this Amshavataram is Rishabhanatha. Nabhipriyayam athameru devyam tvam amshajobhut Rishabhabhidanaha aloka samanya gunaprabhava prabhavita seshajana pramodaha. Who is this Rishabhanatha? Amshavataram of the Lord. At one point in time, Indra tried to disturb him, and Rishabhanatha proved his prowess by ensuring there was rains in his Ajanabha Varsham. Now, who is this Rishabhanatha who's very important to us? Remember, this Rishabhanatha is the one who later relinquished his Rajyam to the eldest of his sons called Bharata. Rishabhanatha had a son called Bharata and he left the Rajyam. Then he became a nomad, going place after place as Abadhuta. He even gave up his clothes. As a Nagna, he went place after place, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and came to Karnataka. As he went place after place, his set of postulates and thoughts, he started preaching amongst people. They were at the nascent stage, initial stage. This Rishabhanatha, he thought that he has to live the life of a python snake. It doesn't go hunt. Generally, if something comes to it, it will hunt. So he waited for food to come to him. He never went in search of food. So he started living like a python, a crow. When I say like a crow, it didn't become a crow. He took some aspects of these animals and started living that. And in Kutakachalam is Kodagu, Kurg. When there was a forest fire, he died. What connections are? This Rishabhanatha is characterized by a Srivatsam. Because he is Bhagavan's avataram, there will be Srivatsam. This Rishabhanatha is the first Tirthankara of Jainism. You have 24 Tirthankaras, the last Tirthankara in the 5th century BCE called Mahavira, right? So the first Tirthankara was Rishabhanatha. So the origin for Jainism also has its source in Bhagavatam. Shayuvratam gomrigakakacharyam chiram charannapya param swarupam davahrutanga kutakachale tvam tapan mama pakuruvatanatha. There are many places. If you go to Rajasthan, there is a mountain called Bhrigutungam. What is Bhrigutungam? Mount Abu. Mount Abu was earlier called Bhrigutungam. There you have Dilwara temples constructed between 11th and the 15th century is in white marble. Beautiful temples. You have to visit. If you're all fans of architecture, I'll say go there, visit. You'll learn so much. There if you see Rishabhanatha, he will have Srivatsam in his chest. So, this Rishabhanatha, through one of the wives had many sons. The eldest of them was called Bharata, I said. Jaina Puranam says that he had another wife called Sunanda and through him he had a son called Bahubali. Oh. Prabhas kada saradi? Ledu. Prabhas jananam chesina పూర్వం ఒక బాహుబలి వారు పేరు Bahubali. He was also called Gomatha. He too performed tapas like his father in a unique yogic posture called Kayotsargam. And that place where he is commemorated is called Shravana Belagola. Have you heard of Shravana Belagola in Karnataka? That is where Bahubali, that Gomatha is. So now let us go to this Bharata. Now Rishabhanatha's son is Bharata. Bharata, he was also not interested in Rajyam. He gave away the administrative rights to his children and he went to Muktinath. You have got 108 Divyadeshams in Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam as venerated by the mystic saint poets called the Alvars. Of them, there is one Kshetram which is in Nepal, the country called Nepal. You have to go to Kathmandu. From Kathmandu, you have to take a flight to Pokhara. From Pokhara, you have to go to Jumsum. From Jumsum, you have to go to Ranipova. From Ranipova, you have to take a jeep and then you have to take a pony 27,000 feet high above the mean sea level. You have to have a darshanam of Bhagavan and come. Who is Bhagavan there? He is in the form of a certain stone called Shalagramam. It is by the banks of river Gantaki. And it is believed that they are all fossils and at one point in time there was a insect called Vajrakitam that used to bore. That is when you check whether there are holes in that Shalagramam. Many of you have heard of Shalagramam? So you'll have holes and then earlier people used to check whether this is Matsya Murti, Kurma Murti, Varaha Murti, Venniradai Murti, all this you will see in that. So this was there in Shalagramam. Alvar says, Kalayum, Kariyum, Parimavum, Tiriyum, Kanam, Kadandu Poi, Shilayum, Kanayum, Tunayaga, Shendran, Vendi, Sherukkalathu, Malagondalami, Danagatti, Malainir Kondu, Valarakar, Talaivan, Talaipattum, Marutuhandan, Shalakkiramam, Adai Nenje, says Alvar. So in this Shalagrama Kshetram, Bharata established an ashramam and always was engaged in tapasya. Karma yogam, jnana yogam. Karma yogam, jnana yogam. One fine day, he saw that there was a pregnant doe that was being chased by a tiger. I told this somewhere. Immediately somebody said, "Sir, actually in one book I read it as lion." Whether it was chased by a tiger or lion, we have to run. At the end of the day, that is the moral. How does it matter? Generally there is a saying in Bharata Desham that if a lion has completed its meal and you go and stand next to it, its stomach is full, it will not attack you. Whereas tiger, even if its stomach is full, it will attack you. But I am telling, who tested this? All this, these theories people will remember very well. If I tell Bhagavatam, nobody will remember. Unless sir, puli shingan jaattu edutuna adu pakkathula pona onnum panna sir, neenga ninnirukala therinja madri. So whether it was a tiger or lion, it was chasing this pregnant doe. The pregnant doe, out of fear, jumped one boulder to the other. While jumping, its belly hit on the boulder, and immediately the water broke and the little one fell into the waters of Gandaki. Incidentally, there was a leaf. So the doe was continuously being chased by the animal, and the little one was floating on that leaf atop the waters, and the waters were in a torrential flow. That day, from his dhyanam, Bharata had opened his eyes. He noticed this and he plunged into the waters. He took a plunge. Then he took the little one, the little deer, and brought it to his ashramam. 24/7 he was into dhyanam. Now slowly then he had to give that A2 milk. He had to give that deer. Then he had to put that diaper. He had to give food. He had to keep wheels on the bus go round and round. So all this he engaged, all his dhyanam. 24 hours became 22, 22 became 20, 20 became 18, 18 became 15, 15 became 10, 10 became 8, and slowly there was a reduction in his dhyanam. Now as he reduced and he nurtured the little one of course at one point in time became big. And it went into its forest searching for other deers. How long will it stay with this tata? It went into the forest. Now thinking of this deer, because Bharata would also age. While he was aging, he was always thinking of the deer. And at one point in time when he was thinking of the deer, his Atma left the body. That is Tatkratu Nyayam. Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita. When in Bhakti Yogam you think of someone or something and leave, the Atma leaves, you will become that. He became a deer. And that deer was born into a deer's family in the Kalanjara Parvatam. But when he was born as a deer as well, he was able to remember the Bhakti Yogam that he had initiated in his previous Janma. Is that possible, sir? Yes, says Shastram. 1 in a lakh can remember their previous Janma. What did we have for food yesterday? We don't remember. So that we are not in that 1 in that lakh. Certain people can. So what will happen in such cases is, such rare cases is, even without anybody's initiation or training, right from a very young age, they will start showing traces of their Purva Janma art. Nobody has to train them. They will just show a flair for that, because in Tamil we call Vitta Korai Totta Korai. See, for example, I'll give you one instance. Later Bhattadri says, Gatva Sandipani Matha Chatushashti Ratrim Mahobihi Sarvajnastvam Sahamusalina Sarvavidya Grihitva. He says in Narayani. It comes in Krishna Avataram. Gatva Sandipanim Atha Chatushashti Ratri Mahobihi Sarvajnastvam. See, knowledge can be earned, can be acquired, can be practiced, can be nurtured, but for certain individuals it will come by default. One easy instance I'll give you from the life history of the great Paramacharya of Kanchi. Paramacharya Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, who was the Peethadipati, who just fell short of a month or a month and a half before completing 100. Paramacharya, at a very young age, he became a sannyasi, Bala sannyasi. And that too, two acharyas before him, who were the Peethadipatis, died very quickly. So he had to take up the onus of the matham on him. It was a huge responsibility because matham used to have elephant, camel, horses, cow. There was one little zoo. Many shishyas, many grihasthas, and you're giving one 8-year, 9-year-old boy all this task. And when you're a Bala sannyasi, you're not educated. You have to come to the Peetham and get educated. So he was taken to a village by the banks of river Kaveri called Mahendra Mangalam. It's near Musiri. And the Matham officials took the Acharya at a very young age, and he was taught Vedam then. And towards the end of Vedic learning, he was taught Veda Bhashyam. You have to learn the Vedas and the meaning of the Vedas. As he was taught the Veda Bhashyam, the teacher who used to come was like 70, 80 plus years of age. He used to come at the teacher was so old. And he used to come at that age and teach Paramacharya. Paramacharya was barely 10, 11 years of age, and they used to sit on the banks of Kaveri and the wet sand. Paramacharya used to take a stick and used to be playing on the sands. The teacher felt this was humiliating because such a great teacher is teaching Veda Bhashyam and you're playing in the sands. But the teacher could not rebuke or scold him because he's a Peethadipati. So what this teacher did was he fell at the feet of Paramacharya, and Paramacharya asked, "Why are you falling at my feet?" "Say, I can't teach you. You seem to be very playful and this is a very serious topic and I can't teach you." The little boy of barely 11 years of age asked, "What is left in the portions to teach?" He said, "In Taitreya Aranyakam, these are the portions. Taitreya Upanishad, these are the portions that I have to teach." Paramacharya said, "Wait, I will tell you the meaning of the remaining portions." And he said, that is when the teacher, after listening to the lecture, he fell at the feet of Paramacharya, and Acharya asked, "Why are you falling?" "There's nothing left to teach you." Certain individuals are born with a certain knowledge that we can't fathom. Sarva vidya grihitva. Similarly, when as a deer he was able to remember his Purva Janma, such people in Vishnu Puranam, they are called by a specific name called Jati Smaraha. Jati Smaraha means people who can remember their previous Janma or Janmas. So this deer managed to remember that he was Bharata who was doing Karma Yogam, Jnana Yogam, Sadhana, Upasana in his previous Janmam. So he went back to Shalagramam. And this deer, thinking of that Dhyana Yogam, Bhakti Yogam, thinking of Bhagavan, the Jivatma left this deer's body too. Then it went into a Brahmana family and this boy was born. But because of his previous accumulated knowledge of Karma Yogam, Jnana Yogam, he was not into material pleasures and he was very aloof. So much so that people, if they would ask even mundane questions, he wouldn't reply. Since he was motionless or not replying, he was treated like an insentient object called Jada. So he was called Jada now. Bharata, 2 births before. Together they became Jada Bharata. So this Jada Bharata went into the forest. Because the family said, "Who will have you in the family? This is meant only for very primitive mortals, not for you. You leave." So Jada Bharata went into the forest, but he was quite well built. He was not eating that much. See, that is why when people look at me, they'll say, Nanna shaapuduvar pola irukku. I don't eat much, but certain bodies are such, when you see somebody eating, you'll put on weight. You don't have to eat for that. What to do? So this Jada Bharata was very well built. In that Pradesham, see, I'm talking by the banks of river Saraswati. Ikshumati it is called. Ikshumati is technically the tributary to Saraswati river. I'm talking around the region of Haryana. When he was walking into the forest, seeing him well built, Kali Upasakas took him for Narabali. அவ்வளோதான், நல்லா இருக்கா சார், காளிக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும்னு சொல்லிட்டு கூட்டின்னு போயிட்டான். ஸோ பொரிச்ச குழம்போ பொரிச்ச கூட்டோ பண்ணிடலாம் இவரை வச்சு. ஸோ they took him to the Bali Peetham. And they were about to smash him, like the French Revolution times you had something called the guillotine. They wanted to guillotine him. Kali appeared and said, if you do this to a Vishnu Bhakta, that's all, I will lose my job. And she attacked those Narabali people and she let Jada Bharata escape. Jada Bharata went into the forest. That is when there was a Raja called Rahuguna Maharaja. Rahuguna Maharaja had lot of doubts on philosophy and he wanted to get that cleared from Kapila Ashramam. Yesterday I told you, right? 825. Kapila Ashramam, Devahutyai Nyagadihi. That Kapila Ashramam is in Ganga Sagar. You know where is Ganga Sagar? Very good. West Bengal, where Ganga meets ocean. So there is Kapila Ashramam and he had to travel all the way from Sindhu Sauviram. Sindhu Sauvira is the Pradesha around large parts of Lahore to Karachi. That was called Sindh Pradesham because you got the Nadi called Sindhu. So that was called Sindh region. So horses were very well trained. Remember all these points. See, for me as an Upanyasaka, just Bhagavatam or Ramayanam alone is not important. I also give equal importance to history and inscriptions. We have to be vigilant about our own history. So, horses were very well trained in Sindhu Pradesham, which is around Karachi. Now we have only Karachi bakery. But before there used to be horses that used to be trained. That is why horses, they used to come from Sindhu Pradesham. Horses were called Saindhavam. You have horses from Sindhu, Saindhaveti, we say. Similarly, upper part, is it boring? No. Upper parts of Pakistan and Afghanistan, that region was called Kekaya during the Ramayana times and that became Gandhara, now Kandahar, we call it. So that region had kings whose surnames used to be Ashwapati. That used to be the name. Savitri's father was called Ashwapati. Similarly, we have Kaikeyi's father who was called Ashwapati. So Ashwapati used to be the surname that used to be given. And that region was also very famous for horses, like Saindhavam, Sindhu region. Jayadratha belonged to that region in Mahabharata times. So there was a king called Rahuguna Maharaja from Sindhu Sauviram. He was made to sit on a palanquin, Shibika. And people carried him from, if you know the world map, from Pakistan across Haryana, he had to go all the way to Bengal. On the way, one person who was carrying the Shibika fell sick. He said, kuch casually or sick leave he took. Now, as this happened, they needed one more person. And the other people spotted this Jada Bharata. They pulled him and said, you are hale and healthy, take lift. As they were walking by that region, as they were going by that region, there were many ants, because in forest you'll find ants. As he used to spot the ants, he used to jump from one place to the other because he didn't want to kill. Now the person who was seated inside the Shibika used to feel a 6.4 Richter scale earthquake. Kya ho raha hai? He shook out and said, who is doing this? They all said, this new man, recruit, is doing that. Then the king asked, you don't don't seem to be thin, you don't seem to be weak, you don't seem to be lanky, then why are you not able to lift the shibika? That is when he said, I am neither weak, I am neither strong. Because what you are referring as I is not me. The me போடும் போல இருக்கே. No. Because in Sanatana Dharma, the I that we generally refer to is the Jivatma. What we qualify in that sentence is for the body. I am fat. Actually, that I is not fat because I is Jivatma. The body is fat. But we associate the body with the Jivatma, which is wrong. Atma and the body are different. If they were one and the same, then I like my grandfather. Tata na romba pidikum. Tata pona unna showcase liya vechukrom. Once the Tata is gone, the Jivatma is gone. The body is cremated. So what you liked about your grandfather was the presence of the Jivatma in his body and not essentially his body. The moment Jadabharata gave this answer, Raja said, stop the Shibika, I don't have to go to Kapila Ashramam, he will give me the Jnanam. And this is called Rahuguna Jadabharata Samvadam. It goes on for 50-60 shlokas in Bhagavatam. Every shloka is the essence of Sanatana Dharma or philosophy. It is called Jadabharata Samvadam. Next comes another great Upakhyanam. This happens in a place called Kanyakubjam. Kanyakubjam is the current day Kanauj in Uttar Pradesh. There was a Brahmana called Ajamila. So this Ajamila, he had a wife, many children. Then he went into the forest. He found a hermit lady there. He fell in love with that lady. And he started having this extramarital relationship with her and started producing children. He lost all his samskaras. He had lost all his Bhagavad Bhakti. And he started living a family with no morals or culture. The last of the sons he produced, the son was the last in the production cycle. See, I'm sure at least the elderly people here can relate to. In the 1940s, 50s, 60s, it was very common to have a family with 7 daughters, 4 brothers, 4 sons. Cheaper by the dozen. There'll be 11 children, 12 children. When your own grandchildren listen to this, they'll be amazed. 11 children party? How party? 11. And invariably, the last child will be called Mangalam. Because that child only put an end to this production, incessant production. Yarma un per Mangala, avu kadaisi ponnani. Or Shubha. Shubham. Mangalam. So this last boy had to be given a name. This name giving is one big industry today. Every day I will get one maid. Sir, I am going to deliver to give us one name. Whatever name I suggest, they won't keep. They will say, you tell us some name which nobody has given. It should be unique. It should have 3 letters. It should have 4 letters. So they will say all these things. See, every parent can aspire. But my suggestion is, take names which are very well rooted in our Puranas. I know at times certain names are complicated. If, for example, if your counterparts here have to say your name, it has to be simple. Or they will make it simple. Padmanabhan is never Padmanabhan. It always become Paddy. Madhavan will always, I don't know what is the problem with Madhavan. That will become Maddie. So, we are used to shortening names. But we at least have some exposure to giving names. Ajamila had no such intent. He wanted to give a name and he called him Narayana. How, sir? Such a beautiful name he gave. Somewhere he googled Narayana. No intent of calling him Narayana. As he was given the name Narayana, at one point in time when the Jivatma from his body was about to depart, he went into a trance. Ajamila went into a trance. Before going out of that pain that he was experiencing, he called out the name of his youngest son whom he loved. Generally parents love the last one a lot. Narayana, and he went into a trance. In that state, yogic state, he saw two men, Yamadutas. They were all with those damshtra, with that pasham. Pasham is a noose. So it is believed when the Jivatma departs, Chitragupta will inform Yama and Yama will come on the buffalo. Now you don't ask me if I have seen. All this is there in our Grantha. So Yama will come on the buffalo and he will throw that pasham. That is why in Sri Vidya Upasakas, they believe that Yama will not come, Devi will come. Muthuswami Dikshita says, Meena lochani pashamochani manini kadamba vanava sini meenakshi me mudam dehi me chakangi Raja Matangi. So this Pasha was thrown. By the time the Yamadutas threw the Pasha on Ajamila, somebody said, Nirtangal. Who were they? Very well dressed, extremely handsome Vishnu Dutas. They said, you have no jurisdiction over them. यमदूता सेड कैसा हो सकता है यम ने हमें भेजा था देखिए मैसेज दैट इज व्हेन विष्णुदूता सेड नथिंग he has to be taken to Vaikuntham. Ajamila himself was surprised. Sir, நான் வைகுண்டம் வர அளவுக்குலாம் நல்லது பண்ணல சார் நம்மள அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் பண்ணல சார் நம்மள எதுக்கு சார் வைகுண்டம் வரான் அப்படின்னா இல்லைப்பா You called out the name of Narayana. Vishnuduta said. Ajamila said, you're mistaken. That is my son. No. But in our rule, even if you tell it knowingly or unknowingly, Narayana takes it as you have taken his name. Oh, is it? Okay, then what should I do? There was an altercation between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas, and the Yamaduta said, correct, you have to take, because Yamamula Pashaste Vidita Kelatasya Karnamule. Yama has told in our ears that if at all you witness a Vishnu Bhakta, you have no jurisdiction over them, come back. That is why Bhagavad Pada says, Kriyate tasya yame nana charcha bhaja govindam. If you take the name of Govinda, Yama, you don't have to do any debate at all. Kriyate tasya yame nana charcha bhaja govindam. Kriyate tasya yame nana charcha bhaja govindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So Narayana Namam was taken. So the Vishnuduta said, we will take you. This altercation and then the finalization that Vishnudutas will take Ajamila happened in that yogic state of Ajamila, and when he was back, he realized that he had wasted his life, went to Haridwara, did propitiation of Bhagavan through Upasana, Bhakti Yogam, and finally, the Atma departed from his body. Now comes an important question. Now Bhattadri will always answer such questions in great detail. Now the question is, sir, you are saying that you don't have to know about Bhagavan, and even if you take his name without knowing his greatness, it will work. How, sir? Because there is one big lobby. What is that lobby? You have to know the meaning of Sahasranamam before reciting. Recitation with the deepest of knowledge will surely help you. Will surely help. But we are not so knowledgeable. See, we have to understand our own limitations. Sahasranamam has meaning. This general argument that I want to learn or the meaning of all the 1,000 names, then only I will recite, is a very good excuse of not learning. When will we learn? We don't know Bhasha. The Bhasha Jnanam is not there. And the Bhasha that we know, Vyasacharya did not write in that Bhasha. Both. We don't know his Bhasha, he doesn't know our Bhasha. First of all, there is a big language gap. And if you have to read the English meanings, it doesn't give you the same feeling. Imagine instead of Vishwam Vishnurva Shatkaro Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu, instead of that you have to read, the one who has pervaded the entire world with all the qualities, Namaha. The one who is a repository of all the auspicious attributes, Namaha. The one who stays within his Antaryami and uses the mantra Vashat and protects us and absolves us of all the sins, Namaha. The one who is present in all times, be it the past, the present and the future, called the Bhut, the Bhavya and the Bhavat. Prabhu, hey Prabhu of Kalyan Jewelry, Namaha. So, learn the meanings, but don't wait. See, this is, I keep telling this in every lecture of mine, immaterial of how much of backlashes I have to face. There is a lot of purpose to the modern education, I'm not denying it. I'm a recipient of it. At the same time, do not deny yourself the right of memorizing. This is something that we have bequeathed in Bharatiya civilization. Remember, you know why when Nalanda University, Takshashila University were burnt with their manuscripts, we never lost knowledge? Because people remembered. See, books should just be a backup. Try. Age doesn't matter. Of course, when you're young, you'll be like a sponge. You'll be able to learn things better. But that doesn't deter you or stop you from learning when you're aging. Do not give age as an answer. We need to see, how did our knowledge sustain? Please understand the intricacies. Today, if you say Vishnu Sahasranamam, you go to Google, like 1,000 namas come, you download the PDF, you have the HTML sheet, you have the PNG image, you can take a screenshot of it, you've got a book. Do anything, any form, as many number of books, you can find it anywhere. How did it happen then when there were no printing presses? There was no photocopying machine. How did it happen? I'll tell you how. There used to be very, very little material to actually write. You had to take the barks, then you had to put them in, soak them in tamarind water, dry them up, and then you used to get thin strips. It used to come as rolls. And you had very little breadth there. So you have to inscribe it in small letters. See, when you read manuscripts, you'll be amazed. You can't read without a magnifying glass. And it never used to, see, for example, how do we write? Kimekam Daivatam Loke Kimvapyekam Parayanam, full stop. Stuvantakam. If you read, please go to Bharatadesham, go find manuscripts. You'll find in digital library. You can never. They will write it in one sentence. It will just go like this. Brahma Sutram was one sutram. Ramanuja or Shankara knew where to cut. Why? Because Badarayana had given a formula. Whenever he had to conclude a chapter, he'll repeat the last sutram twice. He used to say, Nasapunara vartate, Nasapunara vartate. That means the chapter has ended. So that was the way they used to give punctuation marks. And they used to inscribe it. And after, you cannot keep on going, right? You have to fold. So you have to break. And then you have to take the next page. There was no scope for making a mistake. Because you have to inscribe. Today you press back, space, delete, control X. Nothing can work. Nothing. And then after writing the manuscripts, you have to bore. And in that boring, you will lose a few letters. Then you have to tie it with a strip. And those manuscripts will be subject to termites. It was not easy to protect manuscripts. And not everybody had manuscripts. There will be one Vidwan for the entire South who will have those manuscripts. Suppose, for example, Matsya Puranam. I'm giving you an example. Matsya Puranam, 6,000 verses. There are 3 manuscripts available across the country. One manuscript will be in Kashmir. One will be far east. One will be in south. An Acharya called Vedanta Deshika, maybe in the 13th century in Kanchipuram, wanted to read that Puranam. He has to tell the Vidwans who are walking northward, stating that, please tell the Vidwan in Kashmir to send that copy. 6 months later, that copy will come to him. 3 days later, he has to give to a Vidwan in Andhra. In 3 days, they will memorize the 6,000 shlokas. And then they used to give. This is how knowledge was passed and sustained. It was not easy. Today, we always equate our current times and see how it was. So, remembrance, Shruti and Smriti, listen and remember, listen and remember. I will tell you, 20 years back, I memorized, I had 100 phone numbers by heart. My grandmother used to, I was the directory there. She used to ask me, tell this number, I used to tell. That is also gone today. You don't have to remember that. You don't have to remember phone numbers. You don't have to remember passwords. For that you have got one lock manager, right? You can put that passwords. And that too, if they say the password can't be repeated, last two passwords, you can change it instantly twice and then come back to the original password, because you don't want to remember a new password. So basically you don't have to remember. Now, where is the alarm? Mobile. Where is the phone number? Mobile. Where is the directory? Mobile. Vishnu Sahasranama? Mobile. Who will go to Moksham? Mobile. Mobile will go to Moksham. Avavahatso Radiarana Yalanayadate Avavatta Vedavetta Guru Shadagovan Avavinanda Digala. It will go to Moksham. We'll see our mobile going to Moksham with the chip. Because only knowledge is there. See, Jnanavan will go to Moksham. Where is Jnanam? In the mobile. Only that will go to Moksham. We have no Jnanam. See, I'm not trying to ridicule. Please don't mistake me. I'm trying to say that certain things we have to learn from our civilization and continue, which is memorizing. Do not bring all these flawed arguments there. Why did this begin, this discussion of mine? Because he uttered the name of Narayana. He didn't know the meaning of Narayana. He didn't think of Narayana and utter Narayana. He thought of his last child and uttered. But how is this possible? He was getting moksham because Narayana Bhattadri gives two explanations. One, he says, I'm sure there'll be medical practitioners here, there'll be obstetricians, gynecologists, pediatricians here. I don't know what is the paddhati here. When a child is born, you will give that vaccine schedule to the parents. You'll explain to the parents that this is how in this particular month you have to give a booster, you have to give a pentavalent vaccine, you have to give a measles, mumps, rubella, MMR here. This is the polio. All this, I don't know, I'm giving what of my little knowledge what Bharata Desham has. It may be different here. But when you're administering the child, will the pediatrician say, see, this is actually a vial of attenuated vaccine and I'm going to administer to you, oh little one, you know how this will, does a doctor explain all this to the child? No. She just inserts, there is something called painful, painless vaccine, she inserts, the child cries and goes home. Will the vaccine act or not? It will act. The child doesn't know an iota about the vaccine. But still the vaccine will act. Because the duty of the vaccine is to act whether you're cognizant of its function or not. Same is the case with Bhagavan Nama, says Bhattadri, whether you know it or not, it will serve its purpose. Yathaushadam, says Bhattadri. Aushadam, like medicine. Whether you know it's glimepiride combination, vildagliptin, whether you know this is in combination with metformin, without metformin, whether it is a statin or not, what category of drugs, it will act. Yathaushadam, that is why, if you've seen, I'm sure the elderly people here can relate to your grandmothers. When they used to do a general activity also, when they used to stand up, they'll say Krishna, Rama, Govinda, Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. Because for them it was a part of their culture. They never had to sit in dhyanam and say, now I close my eyes, keep one wax candle before me and there'll be one Thai massage Buddha next to us. All this will not be there. Nama Sankirtanam was a part of their regular schedule. They used to cook, they used to take the name of Nama. Rama, Rama, Rama. Even when they have to express their astonishment, Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna. If you go to the north, they'll say, Jai Shri Krishna. So this Nama Sankirtanam, Ajamilopakhyanam was a part of their culture. They didn't have to dedicate 15 minutes today while I'm working out. I'm going to say nothing of that sort. Every day when they speak, they'll say Nama. That is why, Alvar says in Tamil Pasuram, if you know Tamil, Nalayara Divya Prabandham is like a candy. You know what Alvar says? Naranantam tan annai naragam pugal. He says, the boy whose name is Narayana, his mother will not go to Narakam. Why? She ends up calling his son Narayana. Narayana! 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 So, Naranantam annai naragam pugal. His mother will not, he didn't say Narayana will not go. Mother will not go. In whichever tone you call, you're calling him Narayana, right? Vangoinge, Jagannathan. Vangoinge. Ashadu Mari. Ivaradhan Jagannathan. Mama Jolrana Mami. So, Ashado, Vishado, Jagannathan, Mundurtulya, Avladhan. So, the Namam, that is Ajamilopakhyanam. Next comes a beautiful charitram. It is mentioned later, but I generally do a small juggling here and there because it is very important for me to cover that particular aspect before I go to other avatarams. That is called as Ambarisha Charitram. See, in Ambarisha Charitram, we come across a king called Ambarisha. Ambarisha, there is greater detail mentioned in our Shastram that he used to perform the Ekadashi Vratam. See, these are all small charitrams that come, because from tomorrow I'll have large charitrams. Narasimha Avataram, Gajendra Moksham. Then there'll be Matsya Avataram, Kurma Avataram, Vamana Avataram, Krishna Jananam. Then fully Krishna Leela, and then I have to go to Rukmini Kalyanam. So it is important that I cover. So there was a king called Ambarisha. He used to observe the Vratam called Ekadashi Vratam. Ekadashi Vratam. What is the rule for Ekadashi Vratam? You don't eat the previous day. Maximum time? You do, okay, you do think of Bhagavan. Next. What do we eat? What should we eat on Ekadashi? Mami could give her a big round of applause. Correct answer. Nirjalam. Not a drop of water. Because in many houses, naaliki Ekadashiki enna menu? So, our rishis have said Nirjalam. We have come up to the extent of making a menu for Ekadashi. So, when I used to live in Bombay, my friend her name was Nilima Gadi Gaunkar. So she used to come on Ekadashi. She used to bring a big carrier. And I used to say, क्या है नीलिमा? आज तो एकादशी है ना, दुष्यंत में लेके आए. क्या लेके आए हो? साबूदाना का खिचड़ी, साबूदाना का वड़ा, साबूदाना का खीर. अच्छा, ये तो द्वादशी है नीलिमा. ये एकादशी का व्रत नहीं होगा. This is not fasting, this is feasting. So, Ekadashi, technically I'll tell you what it is. From Dashami Tithi evening, 6:30 you have to close your kitchen. Finally, let's give some break to our stomach. Later it is always grinding like ninja mixie. 6:30 Dashami we have to close kitchen. That entire night, generally they'll do Ekadashi bhajana in the middle of the night. Throughout the night they'll do bhajana. Next day full fast. Dwadashi morning 7:38 you have to have your first food. It is called Parana. Parana Karanamnaha, says Vedanta Deshika. So technically for about 36 to 38 hours of fasting without a drop of water. This is Nirjalam Ekadashi. So that day is called Harivasaram. You're thinking of Hari. But there's a problem. What if I have metformin? My endocrinologist says you have to have something. So that something becomes 1 or 2 fruits. Okay, I'll take maybe a fruit custard with some berries to go at the top, some cream. Next, this alone is fructose, right? Then we'll have to put something. Then we'll go to the tiffin. Then we'll take idli, dosa with dosa alone. Ekakina rameta, says Shastram. Alone it will not have. It needs 3 chutneys. So all 3 colors. With that one sambar I have to dip. So Ekadashi becomes one big meal. But Ekadashi technically should be Nirjalam. And you have to think of Bhagavan. All our acharyas have insisted the name of Bhagavan is so important. Nanmayum Shelvamum Nadu Nalgume Tinmayum Papamum Shidaindu Teyume Janmamum Maranamum Indri Tirume Imaye Rama 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 Endra Irandezhuthinal Bhumi Janayakam Bhukti Mukti Dayakam Nama Kirtana Tarakam Naravaragata Mayikam Ramachandram Bhavayami Raghukula Tilakam Upendram Ramachandram Rama 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 Sita
ರಾಮಾಯಣಿರೋ ಅಮರ ಪತಿಯ ದಿವ್ಯ ನಾಮ ಅಂದು ಓದಗರೋ. ಓ ರಾಮ ರಾಮ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮನಿ ನಾಮಮೇಮಿ ರುಚಿರ. ಓ ರಾಮನಿ ನಾಮಮೆಂತ ರುಚಿರ. ठुमक चलत रामचंद्र पाजत पैजनिया. ठुमक चलत अमृतावुनी गोढ नाम तुझे देवा. नाम तुझे देवा मन माझे केशवा. काबानेगे काबानेगे निंदति चंदनम इंदु किरणमनु विंदति खेदमधीरम. ഇന്നും ഗുരുവായൂരിൽ തൊഴുതു നിൽക്കുമ്പോൾ മുന്നിലൊരുണ്ണി ഉണ്ടെന്ന് തോന്നും. ഉണ്ണി പുഞ്ചിരി തൂക്കുന്നതായും തോന്നും. നാമം ജപിച്ചു നമസ്കരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഹരിതതു നിൽക്കുന്നതായും തോന്നും. ഉണ്ണി കാതോർത്തു നിൽക്കുന്നതായും തോന്നും. തൊഴുതു മടങ്ങുമ്പോൾ ഇനി എന്നോ വരുമെന്നോർ അശരീരി കേൾക്കുന്നതായും തോന്നും. So every language has celebrated Bhagavan Nama Sankirtanam. So Ekadashi should be technically spent this way. There was this Raja called Ambarisha who used to do Ekadashi Vratam. Once a month you will get technically 2 Ekadashis. Every Paksha will have 1 Ekadashi. If you get Adhika Masam, you may have 25 or 26 Ekadashis in a year. Between 24 and 26. That's all you have to fast. So he observed this Ekadashi Vratam. So on Ekadashi, my request is, many of you are astikas, when you have a function in your house, avoid Ekadashi. Because on Ekadashi, you cannot cook. You should not technically cook and you should not serve others. On the other hand, on Dwadashi, you have to call someone and feed them. That is a rule. And we had one Dwadashi menu is excellent. You should not add tamarind that day. You should have more korambu. You have to have gooseberry. All this. So it's called Parana in Sanskritam. That first meal on Ekadashi, Dwadashi is called Parana. तत्राथ पारणदिने भवदर्चनान्ते दुर्वाससस्य मुनिना भवनं प्रपेदे भोक्तुं वृतश्च नृपेण परार्तिशीलः. I can't get over the words that our acharyas have used. What beautiful words. See, Atri Anasuya, you must have heard of them. Atri, there was a rishi called Atri. Any people from Atreya Gotram here? Many people say. Many Atreyas here. Atreya means of Atri. Descendants of Atri were called Atreya. Atri and Anasuya. Asuya means jealousy. You remember I told in Dhruva Charitram, Bhavad Vimukhair Asuya. Asuya means jealousy. Anasuya. She was, it doesn't mean she was not jealous. Others couldn't be jealous at her because her benchmark was so high. You can never feel jealous at her. So Atri and Anasuya, they meet Rama and Sita and Lakshmana in Ayodhya Kandam in Ramayanam. That is when she gives her manga necklace, step chain and everything to Sita and gives one scent. They have a nice conversation. This couple had 3 children. One was Brahmamsham called Soma. The second was Rudramsham called Durvasa. Third was Narayanamsham called Datta. So this Datta was the son of Atri. So he was an Atreya. Datta plus Atreya became Dattatreya. So this Dattatreya became a sannyasi. He said no family. Soma went away. Durvasa, nobody, see the point is, Durvasa could have married, but the point is, Vaseti, Vasam means live. Nobody could live with him. Durvasa, you cannot do a Vasam with him. Generally, technically, if people were very good in scriptures, they used to introduce, Ivada Engata Durvasa. Mama Roma Kochi. So this Durvasa
Pararti Shilaha, you know what Bhattadri says? He gives him a title. Pararti Shilaha. Arti means distress. Pararti Shilaha means the one who used to derive pleasure in giving distress to others. Pararti Shilaha, we call them sadists, right? Pararti Shilaha Mandam Jagama Yamunam Niyaman Vidhasyan. So what had happened? So the narration is very simple. He observed Ekadashi Vratam and he used to do Parana on the Dwadashi. That particular Ekadashi, next day Dwadashi, Durvasa came. And it was good to feed some person on Dwadashi. So Ambarisha said, "Aap snan leke aa jaiye Yamuna mein. I'll keep all the food ready because by 8 o'clock you have to complete Parana. So you'll have Tulasi Jalam first and then you begin with the Parana." This Durvasa was having a nice time in Yamuna. It became 8, 8:15, 8:30. He put some shower gel, this gel, that gel, everything. Now the time was moving, so that is when the king thought, why should I wait for the completion of the Vratam? Let me consume the water. Let him come, we'll have food. While he was consuming the Tulasi waters, imagine he's consuming like this, like, the screenplay of a movie. Durvasa is coming in that gap. Durvasa came. He was extremely perturbed and distressed that he was being humiliated, disrespected. That is when he said, "I need to teach you a lesson." And he created a Kritya. See, this Kritya is technically little bit, though in my Upanyasams I don't deal with such topics, nor do I have too much belief in them. We call it black magic or occult. There will be some yagams. That is why they say for both men and women, do not spill your hair on the ground, because this hair, clothes, they all become connection for the occult practices. So he took away his hair and started performing this Vyabhichara yagam. Vyabhicharam is a certain yagam through which you get all these krityas. These krityas are like elves of Harry Potter. They'll follow their master. They will do whatever until you relieve them of the socks, they will not go. So you have to keep telling them. So this Kritya came and it asked, "Talaiva, enna pannanon Talaiva?" So they are all like the 200 rupees people. You have to give 200, one biryani packet, one idina, Vallur Kodathla poi போராடுவோம் போய் எதுக்கு போராடுறோனே அவளுக்கு தெரியாது. போராடுவோம் போய் எதுக்குப்பா போராடுற தெரியல, 200 ரூபா கொடுக்குறேன்ட்டு காசு சார். எல்லாம் வாங்கிட்டு போயிட்டே இருக்கணும் சார். சும்மா இதெல்லாம் போட்டு. So this Kritya started attacking, was asked to attack Ambarisha because Durvasa had commanded. When Kritya left towards Ambarisha, Sudarshana Chakram came in the middle. Pratibhata Shreni Bhishana Varaguna Stoma Bhushana Jani Bhayasthana Tarana Jagadavasthana Karan Nikhila Dushkarma Karshana Nigama Saddharma Darshan Jaya Jaya Shri Sudarshana Jaya Jaya Shri Sudarshana Shubha Jagadrupa Mandana Suragana Trasa Khandana Shatamaka Brahma Nandita Shatapatha Brahma Vandita Pratitha Vidvatsa Pakshita Bhajata Hir Budnya Lakshita Jaya Jaya Shri Sudarshana Jaya. See, Sudarshana is a protection for us. Yadayatam Jagat Chakram Kala Chakram Cha Shashvatam, says Vedanta Deshika. So Chakra came, Sudarshana came, and Sudarshana manipulated that Kritya, and now Kritya started chasing Durvasa. Now Kritya is chasing Durvasa and Chakram is also chasing Durvasa. Two people were chasing. That is when Durvasa went to Narayana and Karya Vaikuntham and said, "See, your Ayudham is chasing me. Kuch to kijiye, usko vapas le lijiye." That is when Narayana said, "See, you have mistaken, Durvas, that my devotees are subservient to me. This is your assumption, which is wrong. Aham bhakta paradhinaha. I am subservient to my devotees. If today in the temple they say you have to stay here for 10 minutes, the Bhattar Swami says I'll stand like this. If he ties me to that Shibika, I will get tied. Archaka paradhinaha, bhakta paradhinaha. During COVID, no devotees should visit if the government puts rule. I will stand like this. Morning 1 o'clock in Tirumala, I stand like this. Till 12 o'clock, I keep standing like this. However my devotees want, I will do that. Yathoktakari, Yatha Ukta, whatever they say, I will follow. What should I do then, Narayan? Go and ask sorry to Ambarisha. So Durvasa went and said, Ambarisha, please forgive me, I committed a grave mistake by offending you. Ambarisha said, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं, आपने क्या बोला? दो ए चक उधर जाओ. அது முன்னாடியே சொல்லியிருக்கலாமேப்பா, இவ்வளோ என்ன அலைய விட்டு. சுதர்ஷன நமஸ்துபியம் சஹசிராராச்சுத பிரியः सर्वस्त्रघातीन् विप्राय स्वस्ति भूया इडस्पते त्वं धर्मं त्वम् अमृतं सत्यत्वं यज्ञोऽखिल यज्ञभुक् त्वं लोकपालः सर्वात्मा त्वं तेज पौरुषं परम्. So this is Ambarisha Charitram. There was this rishi called Markandeya. Have you heard of Markandeya? Nivaruvaya. That Markandeya was the son of a rishi called Mrikandu. This Mrikandu, as per Shaiva Sthala Puranam, lived in the southern part of India in Dakshina Bharatam. And Mrikandu was graced by Shiva with a very valiant, valorous, resplendent, intelligent son called Markandeya. This Markandeya was given a rider that there was a caveat. He will be very intelligent, but by 16 he will die. The father said, it is okay, even if I have a son who will die prematurely, he will serve the society through his intelligence. So he went and started propitiating Shiva. And Shiva graced Markandeya every day. One day while he was propitiating Shiva by holding the lingam, that is when in Yama he got a reminder, Aaj hai Markandeya ka din. So he went and threw that pasham and it fell on Shiva. And Shiva emerged with the Trishulam and warned Yama, see, he's my devotee, kuch mat karo. This kshetram is called Tirukadayur. Shiva is called Amrita Ghateshwarar and Kalasamhara Murti. There Parvati is very famous. She is called Abhirama Sundari. Abhirama Sundari. உதிக்கின்ற செங்கதிர் உச்சித்திலகம் உணர்வுடையோர் மதிக்கின்ற மாணிக்கம் மாதுளம் போது மலர்க்கமலை துதிக்கின்ற மென்கடி மென்கணி குங்குமத்தோயமென்ன விதிக்கின்ற மேனி அபிராமி எந்தன் விழுத்துணையே துணையும் தொழுந்தெய்வமும் பெற்ற தாயும் சுருதிகளின் பனையும் கொழுந்தும் பதிகொண்ட வேரும் பனிமலர் பூங்கனையும் கருப்புச் சிலையும் என் பாசாங்குஷம். It's a beautiful andadi. Now Markandeya, then Yama said, see, this is wrong, Shivji. It is in my message that I have to come and take his life. How can you extend his life? Then Shiva asked, what is the rule? He should have crossed 16 for me to take. I give now a boon that he will always remain 16. Sindura Puve vadinappa endrum 16. Now Markandeya, it meant that he will live perennially. See, perennial living is a bigger problem. Imagine a house having one. யார் நான் இவர் உங்கள் ஆத்தில் இருக்கார், ஐயோ ஏன்னா 7 பரம்பரைக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்திருக்கார், போவே மாட்டேங்கிறார் இந்த ஆள், இதுக்கு வழிச்சு கொட்டுறதுக்கே ரொம்ப நாழியாக எனக்கு போகவும் மாட்டேங்கிறது, நன்னா வேற இருக்கு, இப்போவா அப்போவா நான் தான் இருக்கேன். சாத்துக்குடி யாருக்கு வாங்கியிருந்திருக்கேள், படுத்துட்டு இருக்கவருக்கா இல்லை பார்த்துக்கிற உங்களுக்கு. See, when you're bedridden, people who take care of you require more energy, right? So Markandeya was living perennially. Then he went to a kshetram which was full of tulasi. That is when he spotted a girl who was abandoned. Her name was Bhuma. He nurtured her and Bhagavan came and married her. That kshetram is called Uppiliyappan Kovil. Then he went to Tirucherai seeking moksham. That is when Narayana said, come to Uttarakhand at the foothills of Naranarayana Parvatam by the banks of river Alakananda. So Markandeya went there. Then he prayed to Shiva and said, give me moksham. Shiva said, this department is different. Mokshamiche Janardanad. Ishvaraha jnanam vichet mokshamiche Janardanad. I can give you jnanam, moksham Narayana will give. Take this file to the next department. So then he started propitiating Narayana. And Narayana appeared. He said, at the end of this Janma, you will get moksham. What other boon do you want? That is when Markandeya said, I need to know how pralayam looks. Pralayam is dissolution. See, in Sanatana Dharma, make note of it. Whenever you listen to Bhagavad Gita lectures, I've recently spoken on Gita, 9th chapter. If you have time, go listen in the YouTube.
Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yogam. See, in Sanatana Dharma, we don't believe in a concept called destruction. It is called layam. The word is layam. We say pralayam, right? Layam. Layam means moving from the Karya Dasha back to the Karana Dasha. See, for example, I use besan flour to make a laddu. So, laddu is the final product. Besan flour is the start product, Karana Vastu. From Karana Vastu, besan flour, I move to the Karya Vastu, besan laddu. If the besan laddu comes back to the state of besan flour, it's called layam. That is what is dissolution. So he said, I need to see how pralayam is. Many of them will have this doubt. How will pralayam look? So Narayana said, don't worry, close your eyes. Markandeya closed. Abhi open karo, slowly open your eyes. He opened. The Naranarayana Parvatam hit each other. The rocks started rolling. The trees were uprooted. The river started swelling. And as the rocks rolled into the waters, there was absolutely no scope to differentiate between the rock and the water and the tree. It looked like an ocean of deluge, Pralayarnavam. Markandeya was shocked, petrified for a minute. It was darkness. Darkness had enveloped everywhere. There was only waters. He managed to float, swim. At a distance, he saw a tree and a small island. And something resplendent with a blue color. He started crawling towards it, floating towards it. He somehow managed to get atop that little islet and went close to the shade of that tree. There was darkness everywhere. There was a little kid who looked like a piece of sapphire is cut from a larger rock. As blue. Indra Neela Mani Sanni Papagana Chandra Surya Nayana Prameya Vagi Indra Janaka Sakalesha Shubhra Nagendra Shayana Shamana Vairi Sannuta Jaga Dananda Karaka Indra Neela Mani Sapphire. Kalinguni talala paina gappina pushyaragamu Eleti Shri Venkatadri Indranilamu, says Annamaya. So he saw a boy, beautiful face, little one, on a beautiful Vatapatram. He wondered, when every bit of the universe that I have seen and unseen around has gone into the ocean of deluge, how did this child alone manage to survive? He asked, "Bacha tu kiska hai? Papa mama kidhar hai? Batao na." And this boy, he took his toe all the way to his mouth and started sucking it. Every mother will wait for their child to do this. This is one stage every child will go through. Why did that child do it? You know, Narayana Tirtha, he was a great Krishna devotee. He came up with a compendium called as Krishna Leela Tarangini. In that he asks a question to Krishna. Krishna, on that Vatapatram, why did you chew your toe? He answers, he says, it seems every devotee who goes to Krishna's Sannidhi says, Krishna, you're so handsome, your feet are like jalebi. Your feet are like jangri. Your feet is like Adapradaman. Your feet is like Chakkai. Your feet is like Putarekulu. Your feet is like Kakinada Kaja. Your feet is like Tirupulani Payasam. Your feet is like Holige. Your Puran Poli. Your feet is like Petha Peda. Now Krishna wondered, is my feet some sweet shop? There was a great discourse person called Jairam Sharma. Has anyone heard of him? Jairam Sharma, you know. So Jairam Sharma used to give lectures on Narayaniyam. He used to say it in Tamil. I better say it in Tamil. Certain things are very, very tough to translate. So a person went to a marriage, and after they had attended to the marriage, they came home, a group of people, and the person who had not attended asked, how was the boy and how was the girl? So when he described the boy, yo, ponna romba azhagu, mooku paathalna carrot mari irukku. Yo, kannu paathalna apple mariye irukku.
காதெல்லாம் பார்த்தேன்னா அது என்னவோ கொத்தவரங்கா மாதிரியே இருக்கு, கழுத்து பாருங்க புடலங்கா மாதிரியே இருக்கு. Then this person asked, மொத்தமா எப்படி இருக்கா, கொத்தவால் சாவடி மாதிரி இருக்கா? Like the vegetable. Say, I can't translate this, கொத்தவால் சாவடி. So when devotees go, they say, Krishna, you're like this sweet, that sweet. No, Krishna wondered, it seems, is my foot really that sweet? He took the toe and started sucking, it seems. करारविन्देन पदारविन्दं मुखारविन्दे विनिवेशयन्तं वटस्य पत्रस्य पुटेशयानं बालं मुकुन्दं मनसा स्मरामि. So Krishna sucked the toe, but even then Markandeya did not understand. Don't do that, that's unhygienic. He's concerned about hygiene now in Pralayarnavam. That is when, now generally people will ask, how do you know he sucked the toe? Did you see it, Dushyanth? Now every Dushyanth is at the hot spot. Dushyanth, did you see that? I said, I didn't see. In Kumbhakonam, TSR Gokul Santal saw. They will have this emblem. So he said, now this Markandeya had this pertinent question, who are you? The boy took his toe out. He took the air in. As he took, this is all magical in Bhagavatam. Markandeya is sucked in. He goes into it. What should he see? He should slide through the esophagus. He should go into the stomach. Then liver should give the bile as an ahuti. There should be the pancreas and the islets of Langerhans. And then that should give insulin. There should be a gallbladder with or without stones. And then there should be a diaphragm. There should be the small and the large intestine below. There should be the kidney behind. There should be a rib cage above. This is what the Markandeya should have seen. No. He saw Naranarayana Parvatam. He saw Alakananda flowing. He saw the ashramam and he saw himself doing the tapasya there. He saw that there were trees all around. The same drishyam with what he did tapasya, he was seeing himself inside the stomach. Which said that the entire Srishti by Bhagavan has made the Srishti, but the Srishti rests within him. Shri Vasudeva Andakotla Kukshi Bundi Brova Bharama. The entire Srishti was within his stomach. That is when Markandeya understood that it is futile to even debate and discuss Bhagavat Srishti. He said, Krishna, release me. Inside the stomach, he said this. When he said that, he was again back to that ashramam. Everything was normal. So in a few seconds, Bhagavan showed what was pralayam and how he is the cause and how he is the one who supports. That is why Andal says, Ali nilayai arulelo rembavai. Ali nilayai. Ali nilai. Ali nilayai means the one who rests in Ali nilai. One commentator on a lighter vein remarked, the entire Srishti is within him. All in Yelayai. All in Ilayai Arulelo Rembavai. So this is Vatapatra Shai Kolam. If you go to Srivilliputturu, if by chance after tasting the Palkova, if you have time, please do visit the beautiful abode of Vatapatra Shai there and have a glimpse of Bhagavan. Dakshayajnam, Dhruva Charitram, Ajamilopakhyanam, Ambarisha Charitram, Jadabharata Charitram, Vatapatra Shai. We have seen so many. Now I have taken from Navamaskandam, Ashtamaskandam and done. Because tomorrow there are two big portions for me. One is Saptamaskandam, which is Narasimha Avataram, followed by Gajendra Moksha Vrittantam, which is Ashtamaskandam. The day after, which is Thursday, I'll be dealing with Matsyavataram, Kurmavataram, Vamanavataram, which is Vamana Trivikramavataram, then Krishna Jananam. Krishna has to be born that day, which is a magical moment in Dashamaskandam. The greatest of avatarams, the most beautiful of all moments. So that is on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, completely Krishna Leela. And Sunday, I presume it's in the first half. So the first half of the day, we will be having Satyabhama Parinayam, Jambavati Parinayam, Usha Parinayam, Kuchelopakhyanam, Santana Gopala Charitram, Rukmini Kalyanam. So that will be the last day. So this is the general plan. I'm extremely indebted to all of you for taking your time off and coming every day. You just have 5 more days to withstand and tolerate me. Please do come for the remaining 5 days. It is all in English. Bring your other friends. You don't ask where is the place. We'll somehow manage. எங்கேயோ அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். பாம்பே லோக்கல் மாதிரி எங்கேயோ இதராகி இக்கடை பசான்னு சொல்லி உட்கார வச்சுக்கலாம். So we'll adjust. So I'm extremely thankful to the authorities of the Sri Lakshmi temple. Very grateful to the board chairman headed by Ganesh ji. Extremely thankful to my hosts, Kannabiran Mama and his Dharma Patni and his family. Extremely thankful to Narayan Tirumalai, who's the national organizer. All these programs that I do, nationally they've been the organizer and sponsor for 6-7 times now in a row. He and his Dharma Patni Priya have been doing it from Chicago. He's flown all the way from Chicago to assist us and guide us in this entire event. Thanks to him, thanks to his Dharma Patni, thanks to his organization. Donations are always welcome. Please feel free to give your donations. They have all been so benevolent to make it so very resourceful with the auditorium given by the temple, the prasadam given. So it's all made so that the larger community benefits. I'm extremely thankful to all of you. Please be present on all the remaining days. As said, my Ramayanam book is available on www.giriusa.com, GIRIUSA.com. So that's a dealer that sits in the US, so they'll be able to ship the book to you. So please feel free to order copy or copies, as many as you want. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Just a very quick announcement, if that's okay. I take people on yatras. Many people from Boston have joined us in the past. They'll be joining this year as well. So there are a slew of yatras. We have Navadwaraka, Pushkar, Bhutan, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Odisha and so on. 99% of them are full, except Cambodia, because Cambodia we have tickets, and those flight tickets that we book, we charter a flight, means all that has been booked. But we have scope for people who want to come directly to Cambodia. Say from USA you want to fly in directly through Singapore or Bangkok to Cambodia, you can come. So there are 2 batches, which is December 20th to 25th, December 25th to 29th. 2 batches, 5 days, 4 nights in Cambodia. So we take care of your stay, your visa, your food, because cooks from India will be coming and will be cooking Sattvic food. More korambu parapusiri and the mari. So your food is taken care, and I'll be giving 2 hours of lectures every day on Paduka Sahasram in Tamil. So anybody is welcome. There's no restriction whatsoever. But the tickets have to be booked on your own. But for all of this, you need to get in touch with our team. I'll tell the email ID. If those of you who are interested to come to Cambodia, may make note of it. I'll tell thrice. So it has got 11 letters, this email ID. Yatra, 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 by BY, by DS. D stands for Dushyanth, S stands for Sridhar. DS, BB, B for boy, B for boy, at gmail.com. Yatra by DSBB at gmail.com. YATRABYDSBB. 11 letters, all small, at gmail.com. You can write to them. You can express your interest in coming to Cambodia if you're interested. They will send you the details without the flight ticket. So you'll have to essentially coordinate with them and get the flight tickets done. So this is for the Cambodia. All the other yatras are full. So in the future, please do follow me on one of the 5, which is either YouTube channel or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter. X handle. So one of the 5, Pancha Samskaram. So please do follow me on one of them, and you can find updates about the yatras if at all we hold in the future. Thank you so much. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu. Kayena Vacha Manasendriyaiva Buddhyatmana Va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Ityat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana समर्पयामि. कल्याण रूपाय कलौ जनानां कल्याण दात्रे करुणा सुधाब्धे कंवादि दिव्यायुध सत्कराय वातालयाधीश नमो नमस्ते. नारायण 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 नारायण
अनन्तरामाख्यमहि प्रणीतं स्तोत्रं पठेत्यस्तु नरस्त्रिकालं वातालयेतश्च कृपाफलेन लभेत सर्वाणि च मङ्गलानि नारायण 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 Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you, everybody. Please don't forget to take the prashad. It is available downstairs.
Kunjakash.